Thank you, Mario. And I just brought some tea so I can sip while I'm talking. And am I all set? I was making sure I'm all wired to go. With TR90, I just realized I had to tighten my belt so the stuff didn't make everything fall down. So, okay. All right. How many of you are health professionals that are here? Some kind of nutritionist, physician, some kind of practitioner? Okay. And how many of you that are health professionals are here hearing this for the first time? Okay. Any of you that would be willing to volunteer what your biggest question is or what kind of things you're wondering as you see this tonight? And maybe you don't know yet what you're going to see, so that's okay. But if you had a question, from what you've heard so far, what are your biggest areas that you'd like to see addressed? Any of you? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Well, the nutritional bits, they're actually in each pack of things like my pack is all quite new to me, and I keep being asked things like, why is Habits one for all, the big 6-foot man to...
Got it. Okay, yeah. Good question. Okay. You were going to say, ask them? No. Okay. Anyone else? Any of the other health professionals? Okay. Well, I'm going to, and do I have is there, oh, here. Okay. Wonderful. So we're going to go through a couple of things in the next, and just keep an eye on the time here. Would you say that as a health practitioner, okay, a couple of things we want to know, is what is it we're recommending? What are we offering? Would you say that in many cases what we want to know is that whatever we're offering or whatever we're doing, we want to know that it's going to make a real and positive difference in people's lives? Would you say that's important to you? Okay. And then number two, kind of along those lines, so what are two big things we want to know? One, that something is safe. And number two, that it actually is going to make a difference. And to do that, we actually need a way to measure. Okay? And then all of us that are in some kind of profession, we also need a way to compensate so we can provide the services we're going to provide. Is that kind of the case for everybody? Okay. So what we're going to do is kind of address all of those. Now, for those of you that are health professionals, and you may or may not be, maybe you're in your own solo type of practice, but just in general, are there changes happening here like there are in the U.S. where sort of with the economy shifting that health practitioners are also exploring how they can continue to do the work they want to do to make a difference in people's lives, but also wondering how to fund that? Is that something that's happening here or not? Okay, so some changes. So, because that's happening a lot in the U.S. And this is, someone else pulled this slide off the internet, the #1 most read article on Medscape, just a online magazine for physicians, and that many physicians actually, this is happening in North America, are looking for alternative sources of income. They still want to practice, they still want to do what they were trained to do to make a difference in people's lives, but they're looking for other ways to add more services or provide another source of income. Now, how many of you realize, I guess this is going to be sort of a fun question, but that there's only so much of us to go around, right? So just adding more services, if it's going to take more of your time, there's only so much time you have in a day, right? And so we want to find some ways that we can actually enhance people's health, enhance people's lives, and also have a system that could actually make it doable for you without adding lots of extra hours and allow another source of income. And I'll just mention real briefly from my own background. I actually trained first in electrical engineering at MIT in the Boston area, down the street from a little-known school called Harvard. And I started out in engineering, and then I went straight from there to medical school at Columbia University in New York City, and then I came to the Midwest, to the Chicago area, and did a residency and then a fellowship in mother-baby care and practiced as a family MD for a number of years. And thought that's what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. And then my wife and I started raising a family of our own. We had 3 young kids at the time and started talking about cutting back some of my hours in clinic so we could have more time together as a family. And the reason I'm mentioning this is we reached a point where I love working with families. I love working with people to really improve their lives. I loved what I was doing as a doctor. And we are busy enough that I assumed the practice was receiving a lot in reimbursements and that we could negotiate, in lieu of an increase in salary, I'll just negotiate a little more flexibility in time since I was, starting a family. But what ended up happening is reimbursements were actually already going down back then, and it's changed even more in the U.S. since then. And all the doctors were asked to start putting in more time every week just to keep the practice going. And that was a moment in time when I, for the first time, started asking myself, is there a way to have another source of income that would be independent of just my seeing patients or just whatever happens with reimbursements, so that I'm not fully at the mercy of what happens there and can continue the work that's important to me. And that's what opened the door to what we're going to share with you tonight. So let me ask just how many of you as practitioners have been having some of those questions that you still want to do something that makes a difference in people's lives. You have, only so much time in a day, and you're wondering, how do I make this feasible from a time standpoint and from an income standpoint? Is that anything any of you have been wondering or exploring? Okay, so at least one of you. And then are some of you maybe looking at ways to, maybe things are going well with your practice, but you are just interested in what is kind of the cutting edge of science and breakthroughs that could support the body in a natural and balanced way, that you just like to stay on top of what's possible that you could possibly recommend to your clients. Is that some of you as well? Okay, great. So we're going to address both of those. So one of these is just asking the question, what if we could, again, continue to support our desire to work with people in a positive manner and also support a life, the life that we have and that we want to live as well without getting burnt out. Okay? And so one of the things that we introduce, and this is where we have whole teams of scientists working on different solutions, like you were asking about some of the nutritional supplements, but before we even go to that, one of the questions is, how do you know your supplements are working? And how do you know if you recommend something to a client that they're not just wasting their money? Any of you ever wondered that? And then how many of you have had clients that they themselves are, whether you recommend anything or not, how many of you have clients that are kind of watching infomercials, or do you call them infomercials here? Or advertisements, or reading things, newsletters, and they're trying different things because they want to find other ways to be healthy and have a good quality of life. Are you guys kind of seeing that? And so they would love it if someone they knew and respected and trusted could give them some guidance. But if they don't, then they're kind of trying to figure it out themselves, and often they're just responding to marketing, or they're just giving whatever is cheapest or most convenient. Okay? So one of the first things we realized is two things. We want to actually do the research to figure out what's really going to matter, what's really going to make a difference. So if we recommend something, it's going to make a difference. But secondly, we needed a way to actually measure it. So we're not just like everybody else, just making claims or just relying on marketing, but we can actually measure. So as a practitioner, you yourself are confident and you can see where someone's at and the change that it makes in their life, plus your clients or your patients can see that as well. And then they no longer have to wonder what to take or whether it's making a difference. So that was what led to us developing this, almost like a Star Trek device. This is the third generation of it. It's a wonderful device, almost fits in your hand. It's wireless, battery operated, but there's a lot of technology and research that goes into this, and we're going to talk about that a little more tonight. By the way, because though it is so novel, it does set you, whether you're a nutritionist or whether you're a health practitioner of some other, fashion, physician, homeopathist, homeopathy, or whatever you practice, it creates it's something novel that causes you to stand out in your community as well. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about the value that you're actually offering your clients, because that's what's going to matter to you as a practitioner. And then from their standpoint, just to kind of enhance your presence in the community, it also provides something new and innovative that can start to create a buzz where other people start coming to you because you're doing something that's very cutting edge. Okay? Now, with this biophotonic scanner program, let's talk about a little bit of the background. This is Dr. Joseph Chang, who actually studied here in the UK and then came to the United States. He actually has worked about 15 years in the pharmaceutical industry, and he worked with drug discovery teams, meaning they would actually discover and create new solutions that never existed before. And one of the interesting things is that he found is whenever they did that, they would always go to nature first to find out what is, and this is something he told me over breakfast a few years ago, that they would go to nature to find out what does nature have to offer, and then, being a pharmaceutical company, they would try to alter it chemically and make it synthetic so they could patent it, and it would get turned into a drug. Okay? He and another researcher, though, started to ask the question, what if we just stuck with nature in the first place? Is there a way we could just work directly with nature to support our bodies and be able to measure it scientifically, and is there a market for that? And they looked at what's already out there and saw what we all see is there's all kinds of offerings, but when you actually test things and look at things, it's quite variable what's actually in what you're taking. Okay, and so they wanted to bring the same level of science that the pharmaceutical industry had, because they had the money to create, do high levels of testing, have special equipment that could do that kind of testing. They wanted to bring that same level of science to the nutraceutical industry so that we could actually measure and document and really make sure that what we're offering people is making a real and measurable difference. And hence, they started a company called Pharmanex. And it actually achieved certain level of success, 50 million per year in sales, and then was purchased by the company that we're now partnering with, Nu Skin Enterprises, for 135 million in 1998. And Dr. Joe Chang is also the author of a New York Times best-selling book called The Aging Myth, which I was sharing with someone earlier, actually introduces the public to the idea and the breakthroughs that are now happening that show that you're not just stuck with what you were born with anymore. You're not just stuck with your DNA, but it's actually how your DNA expresses itself over your lifetime that actually makes a bigger difference in what you experience in life. And now we can actually influence that and even retune that so it better serves you. And we'll talk about that a little bit today as well. One other thing I want to mention is he implemented this 6S quality process. And this is 6 steps that are very key that if we're going to create a supplement or any type of nutraceutical to benefit people, we want to, again, be able to measure the benefits and make sure that every capsule or every ounce of juice or whatever it is that you're drinking is going to have the beneficial ingredients. And what do I mean by that? Remember I said that if we are going to recommend something or we're going to use something ourselves, what are the 2 biggest things we want to know? One, that it's going to be safe, right? We don't want to put anything in our bodies or our loved ones or our clients that's got any impurities or isn't safe, okay? And one of the things I love to say when people ask, well, is this organic? I love to point out it's actually better than organic. Okay? Because even if something's certified organic, no one's generally actually measuring the end product. They're certifying their growing practices and things like that, but we all know in the world today, everything's interconnected, and what if some contaminants get in the rain and the rain washes off and some neighboring or nearby farm eventually downstream gets affected? No one's actually checking to see in the end, even if it's coming from somewhere organic, they don't even have the budget or the equipment to test to make sure it actually is pure, whereas this company does. All the sources of raw ingredients that are coming are actually tested. The end raw ingredient is tested to make sure it doesn't have any contaminants in it. So you actually know, whether it was certified organic or not, you actually know that that product is pure and that ingredient is pure. So that's one thing. The second thing is we want to know that it works, okay? I used this example the other day. If you were looking for banana or banana ingredients, how many of you peel the banana before you eat it? And what do most of you do with the peel, or all of you do with the peel? Throw it away, right? Because what we want is the actual banana. But it's all part of the banana, right? And lay aside the fact that some peels of things do have some beneficial ingredients in them, but for the sake of this analogy I'm giving you, technically you could give one person some banana, certain milligrams of banana and its actual fruit, and they're getting banana, but they'll have one experience, and you could give someone else the same amount of milligrams of the peel and still call it banana or from the banana plant, but they're going to have a different experience, right? They're going to be getting something different, okay? But on the label, it could still say 15 milligrams of banana. All right? Well, what we found is and the public doesn't have any way to distinguish this. In fact, even scientists don't necessarily have it unless you can take the capsule and go test it to see what's in it. So what this company does is they're very rigorous. Many different herbs and natural ingredients, it matters when the plant is harvested. It matters what part of the plant is actually, the active ingredient is extracted from. And so they're very rigorous in making sure that what goes into each capsule or each tablet is the actual what we call the active ingredient, the bioactive ingredients that actually have been shown and measured to make a difference and have the effect you want, and that it's standardized. Okay, it's standard between each capsule or each tablet that you get, so everyone will get the same benefit in every single capsule and every single tablet. So it's very key, the amount of quality control that goes in. So you have all that level of science, but then we talked again about being able to measure. So let's continue on. Also, this is significant because behind what's creating this level of science and this level of quality of ingredient and this level of technology is you have whole teams of scientists that are working on cutting-edge nutritional, antioxidant, and anti-aging research. Okay, and these are leaders in their fields in multiple disciplines around the world. And that's very key because even as a physician, I saw a lot of different products, natural products over the years, both ones that patients were asking me about and ones that I was researching myself. And I noticed that in many cases, they would have a single doctor or MD or researcher that was sometimes sort of a figurehead on the label, or sometimes it was based on their research, but everything was based on just one scientist's research. And in some cases, there wasn't even any scientist on staff at all. Okay? They're just putting ingredients together to create a product and creating testimonials and using that to market it. Okay? And so what's really significant here is the whole order of magnitude different than that, where you have at any given time 75 or more PhD level scientists that are leaders in different disciplines of research working on the science here and staying in touch with cutting edge research to make sure that what we're recommending to our clients or to our patients is the best that science and nature have to offer, and it keeps getting better. We don't just stop with what we have now. We're able to give the best of what today is, but they're already working on what can actually improve that as science improves over the years to come. Nature doesn't change, it's still there, but our ability to measure it and optimize it does improve. Okay? And so that's kind of another factor there. And then just a brief comment on the company that's partnered, because a lot of people think, okay, well that sounds good. Good scientists, good products. I'm a healthcare practitioner. I want to make a difference in people's lives. But who's the company behind it? Are they just people in suits that want to make a lot of money and are trying to take this over? Okay? And so one of the neat things about the company behind this that's purchased Pharmanex is you want to know two things: their values and then their financial strength, so they can continue to support this. And their values is such that the very reason for this company existing is to make a difference in the world and to really be a force for good, with both their products, with both the model with which these are introduced, and also with a culture of giving back. And so that informs them, and that's what led to Dr. Joe partnering with them rather than selling out to, actually a couple pharmaceutical companies were interested in buying out his company as it grew, but rather than selling back to them, he chose to partner with Nu Skin because there was a compatibility there in the mission and purpose and values, and they're extremely solid financially. You can see $3.8 billion, 30 years of being in business, and many outside recognitions, just to let you know there's outside references that recognize this company as a very solid and trustworthy company. So with that, in addition, Nu Skin continues to identify key areas of research and acquire those assets so they can focus their energy in supporting those scientists to develop what they're developing, and it can actually be brought to market in a patented and protected way so that the revenue can then generate more research and continue to improve that. And we talked briefly about Pharmanex, the company that Dr. Joe started. We talked briefly about the scanner, which I'll talk more about. AR Nox Technologies refers to a single breakthrough working with aging of the skin. And LifeGen Technologies, this one is interesting because it's a couple researchers out of the University of Wisconsin that formed a company, and they have almost 30 years of research into the genetics of aging. They're the ones who did the definitive work with caloric restriction and longevity that was actually breaking news when I was in medical school. I remember reading about it. So that's kind of the caliber. These are leaders in their field around the world, and because of both the mission of what we are doing and because of the excellence and the commitment to what we're doing, they've actually chosen to partner exclusively. So all 30 years of research and these leaders in their fields are choosing to partner exclusively with our company and with our scientists so that what they're developing and the research they're doing could actually be turned into beneficial solutions that could make a difference in people's lives today. Okay? And that's the caliber of the scientific partnerships that you have behind you. This is showing you again a panel of some of the scientists that we're partnering with. Dr. Mark Bartlett there, I believe is from New Zealand. I think we have someone in here who's from New Zealand. And then he was with the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, which is a big establishment in the US. And then Dr. Joe Chang I mentioned, Dr. Helen Nags, and then many different scientists in different areas of discipline around the world. And then just remember this key, that we're also looking at addressing the sources of aging. Rather than just addressing symptoms and making little tonics and different things that will create a lot of testimonials and temporary sales, we really, I was talking with someone earlier, we really want to impact the very path of aging that someone's on. So no matter who we are, whether healthy or not healthy, we all have our own path or trajectory that we're heading on now. Okay, and that is a certain amount of decline with age. How many of you, whether you're a practitioner or not, know that as time has gone on, looks like most of you are out of your teens now, so as the decades have progressed, have you noticed that there's been some changes in your skin, your face, your body, or maybe even your brain or memory? Anybody notice that there's some changes? And that those changes aren't all going in the direction you want them to. Is that true? Okay? All right. So we're all on a certain path that isn't necessarily going the way we want it, and what we want to do is make real change to change that path, that trajectory, so we can really live young, if you will, and healthily for as long as we can. Okay, that while we're here, that how many of you would like, whatever your time is going to be on this earth, you would like to have the full function of your brain, your heart, your muscles, and be able to live an active and full life? Is that true? And how many of you that are health practitioners know that your clients want that too? Okay? And that they actually are spending money both with you and also in the general market on different solutions trying to help themselves stay younger and healthier and look better longer. Okay? And what we want to do is actually bring real science to that and let you, as someone who is a professional, be able to guide people and feel confident that you're guiding people to real solutions and be able to be compensated for it so you can continue to do your work of making a difference in people's lives. Okay, so with that said, let's go on with the scanner. So first of all, there's a lot of science behind it, about $150 million of research that's gone on it. This is cutting edge science. It used to be a laser and something that filled a whole table and part of a room that was in order to do the measurement, and gradually it was shrunk in cost and size, as most technology is, to the point where now in 30 seconds, just using light reflecting off the palm of your hand, it can actually measure a reliable index of your antioxidant status. Okay, that's more accurate than blood testing. All right, how many of you would prefer not to have your blood drawn if you could avoid it? Anybody? Okay. All right, how many of you know your clients would like that too? And in a busy office, not having to have a trained staff go draw blood or something like that for this measurement. I mean, they may still do it for other things. But how many of you realize that 30 seconds to do something cutting edge where your client just puts their hand on this device and in 30 seconds on an iPad, okay, you can get a readout? And actually, it's really cool. It's like a speed dial, and they can see the number going up and then see where they end up. And if it's not real good, or even if it was good, the goal is to optimize that. So you make some recommendations, maybe exercise a little more, eat a little more healthily, stop smoking, and you may recommend some of these quality supplements. Well, when they go on that, they can come back and get rescanned, and they can see how their scan score has changed. And it's kind of exciting and reinforcing. And how many of you have noticed when we start to measure something with clients and patients, they start to pay more attention? If we can actually measure and show the change, they pay more attention and compliance goes up, right? Because that's a big issue with our clients. So what is this measuring? Actually, it's based on Nobel Prize-winning technology. Okay, so even though it's so cute and small now, this is, oops, I think I hit it's supposed to be on or off. Anyway. Hopefully it won't self-destruct. No, it's a really nice device. But there's a lot of tech, and actually to shrink something to this size requires a lot of innovation. Okay? That's why so much has gone into research and the ability to make something that's reliable like this. And it's actually measuring your carotenoids. Let me see if it shows you on the next slide. Okay, it's measuring through the skin, and it's measuring the reflection of light that actually changes in frequency based on the concentration of carotenoids in the skin, which are from our orange and yellow vegetables. Okay, it's a whole family. It's not just beta carotene or one carotenoid. It's a whole family of carotenoids. And these are actually the first line of defense in our antioxidant network and are a very reliable index of our overall antioxidant status. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of this in a minute. Okay, so one here, there's just a couple of studies we have up here. We actually have, there's many studies, outside studies that have been done to verify this and kind of show the path. And any of you that want to see all of that, you can get with the person who referred you and they can get access to that for you. But basically, first of all, that carotenoids, this is just going back to, first of all, carotenoids in the blood are an indicator of total antioxidant status. Okay, and then the fact that the skin carotenoid status, which is what we're talking about here, is actually a good biomarker of your fruit and vegetable intake, because that's the main way from our diet that we affect our antioxidants. Okay? And here's one showing just the accuracy of it. And then, as I mentioned, there's other studies that show it's actually even more accurate than blood, because carotenoids tend to accumulate in the tissues. To be really accurate, you actually need to take tissue samples and put them through a special machine. And how many of you would prefer not to have some of your skin taken away in order to test it? Okay? All right, so that's light actually replaces that. And what's really exciting, okay, is that this actually is a reliable index not only of your overall antioxidant network, but they've actually done independent studies to also see if someone has an extra free radical or oxidative stress on their body, on their cells, such as smoking or obesity or extra chemicals and things in their environment. And there's special things that they can actually test to stress the body and check the results coming out in the urine, okay? That this actually correlates with the higher your oxidative stress is, the lower your score will be. And the higher your antioxidant protection is, the higher your score will be. So it's very relevant to a key parameter of health. Now, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but a really brief review, just reminding us how throughout the day, we're really exposed to free radicals or oxidation. The same thing that makes a nail rust or makes an apple turn brown, whether it's UV light from the sun or other radiation that we're exposed to all the time, pollution, even chemicals from the carpet and other things like that, our microwave, things that we're eating, but also just the very work of being alive, our cells, like an engine has exhaust, our cells create exhaust. They create free radicals. Now, rather than being afraid of yourself or your own body, our body is designed to neutralize those with antioxidants, and we're designed to eat a healthy diet and replenish those with fruits and vegetables. But how many of you know, even if you know what is healthy to eat, that you don't always eat as healthily as you can? Is that true for any of you? Okay. And is that true for any of your clients? Okay. Now, we also do have, and I'm sure it's true here, we do have some people that are very conscientious now about their exercise and their eating and their fitness and doing a lot better. Okay. But it's a subset of the population. Even for them, they want to be optimal. And so then those clients of yours that are already pretty healthy, you can help them optimize it. Okay? And those that aren't that healthy, you can help them really start to get into a more healthier level. And we'll talk about that a little further. So we're exposed to the free radicals all the time. We want to neutralize them. We want to keep the antioxidant protection high and beneficial. One of the things is just a reminder, you can do a PubMed search, any of you that want to look into this further, for antioxidants, or first of all, oxidative stress with, and you fill in the blank, or antioxidants and you fill in the blank. And almost any disease or health condition, you will find research with antioxidants and that name. And a lot of studies will come up, and that may surprise you, anywhere from autism and dementia in different areas of the brain to cardiovascular disease to joint issues. There's all kinds of things, and we'll let you guys look that up. But anything that you see in your clients or research regularly, it'd be interesting to look up a couple of things and see the studies that can come up, and you'll start to verify for yourself, wow, this is a key parameter that really could make a difference. To be able to measure in 30 seconds and help people improve that, I could make a significant difference in their path of aging, okay, by supporting their body in a natural and healthy way. This is just reminding us, we already talked about that, we don't all, and our clients don't all eat as healthy as they can. This is an example of where some of the different carotenoids come from, okay, some of the vegetables you can see. This is the United States, but I understand the UK too. You have some of the trends where, again, people are busy, they're in a hurry, they don't always eat as healthy as they can, and you were just telling me that the UK is #1 in obesity for Europe. Is that right? So we're definitely seeing those trends in the US, but that's an issue out here too. And something, how many of you that are health practitioners or in nutrition that your clients are coming to you for any weight management or metabolism issues? Are you guys seeing that? Okay, some of you, yeah. All right, this is just a couple references. Again, this is the American Medical Association, but that they were starting to realize, okay, adults do need some supplementation. This is the European Journal of Nutrition, and just different things showing that there is a need that needs to be addressed. But again, any of you that have had some issues in the past with supplements and seen some controversial studies or be concerned yourself, the bottom line comes down to, yes, we may need some supplementation to enhance our diets, our nutrition, and to raise our baseline health levels to a higher level from where they are. But the other concern was there is a lot of, let's be honest, there's a lot of junk out there too. Okay, and that's diluted the market and caused a lot of concern about why should I take anything because I might just be wasting my money, or why should I recommend anything. So that's why we want a quality product, and we want to be able to measure. Here's just more data on the skin carotenoid score, and you see it goes up. Okay, there's kind of the average, the top of the bell curve where most people are, maybe 2 to 3 vegetables a day. Okay, then you eat more fruits and vegetables, you go to the right, you go higher in your score. You add LifePak, which is one of our natural vitamin, mineral, and antioxidant supplements, which I'll show you in a moment to help raise that baseline. And you go further and you combine them both, healthy diet and LifePak, and you can go even further to the bell curve on the right. On the other hand, obesity, smoking, things like that lower the curve. Okay, so the antioxidant, the scan score that you get shows you kind of where you stand. And now you have a starting point that you can optimize. If someone's already pretty healthy, they can look at how they can optimize it further. If someone's doing poorly, they can move up. Now, in answer to this question, how do you, if someone's 6 feet versus, man, woman, how do you pick what to do and how personalized is it? The first step is to actually raise everybody's baseline level. So what we did with LifePak, it's very balanced as I mentioned, a spectrum of natural vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to reflect what you normally get from nature, okay? And that's one of the reasons that this is very healthy compared to some of the things that are out there on the market, because it's actually going to layer on top of your eating, meaning it's going to give you a balanced support of restoring what I like to call your nutritional bank account. So wherever your baseline is now, it'll raise your baseline. If you're pretty low here, it'll raise your baseline, higher, get you into a healthier range. If you're already good, it will raise your baseline even further to be even more optimal. And a lot of people who are unhealthy, we find them often able to nearly double, in some cases go even more than that, their score after a couple months from being on LifePak. Okay, and then how many of you have noticed yourself, and then just imagine for your clients, is it easier to make healthy choices when you feel good or when you feel bad? When you feel good, right? When you start feeling healthy, when you start seeing a healthier glow, is it easier then to kind of want to keep that momentum going? Whereas if you start to feel not so good, or you start to see the weight's going up anyway, you kind of want to give up sometimes, right? Or if your mood's down, okay? So what you do is you create self-reinforcing behavior that can have a domino effect in a good direction rather than a unhealthy direction for your clients. So it can have a wonderful effect. Now, the next step, based on your question, the next step is to personalize things, but the first step we want to do is raise everyone's baseline, and so we kept it very balanced to reflect what you would do if you were eating more healthily. Okay, to raise that baseline across the board. Now, our scientists are actually working on some very exciting research that will be coming soon. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of the ability to actually measure the expression of our genes, and what's coming down the road, down the pipeline, is the ability then to fine-tune things specifically to your own gene patterns and your own expression. Pretty exciting, huh? Sounds like Star Trek, okay? And it's so Star Trek-y that that is not fully available yet, but the first step is, and I'm going to show that to you in a moment. So that is actually being worked on. But the first thing we want to do is raise everyone's baseline levels across the board, okay? And that's what we do. So we talked about how do you know your supplements are working for you. This is LifePak, and it comes in a little packet. And the wonderful thing, rather than cramming everything into just a single tablet that may just go right through someone, they break it into several tablets to make it more absorbable, and into little packets. I don't know if we have a packet, but and it comes in this box. That's very convenient to carry with you. Whether you're out and about or wherever you are. Like I'm even traveling now, and I just put a packet where I can easily grab it and take it. I took some actually before having this with something that I was snacking on. So, okay, that's LifePak, and then here's a fun illustration. And some people actually put this in their office. Okay, in addition to having the scanner, they actually have some pictures of this just to get people to ask questions. I did a presentation outside of DC just about a month ago. And the physician, she has a beautiful office. Oh, there's one of the packets. Thank you. So there's an example of the packet. It's completely sealed, so you can take it with you, and then you can just tear it open when you're ready to use it and have that. And she has around the office different posters like this and little questions like, do you know what your score is? And it just raises curiosity. So people are coming in from the waiting area to the room, and while they're getting whatever they came in for taken care of, they may wonder, well, what's this? How do I get that? And then a discussion can happen, and they can get scanned, and they can see where they are. Some recommendations can be made very easily, and they can enhance that score. So this is an example of what you'd have to eat in order to get all the vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants in your daily amount of LifePak. All right, so is this starting to look a little easier? Okay, all right. Now, again, it's not to replace healthy eating, but it's just, again, to show that to enhance or to support whatever you're currently doing. We encourage you to eat as healthily as you can, and this can help further support you in a balanced way to raise that baseline without throwing anything out of balance artificially. Okay? Let me see how we are doing on time. And go ahead here. Okay, and this just shows some of the different areas, okay, as we restore that nutritional bank account. One of the fun things, I was telling someone at a break, and then she was kind of shocked, but I mentioned to her, one of the things that caught my attention was when I started meeting people who actually were on medication for various conditions that as a doctor, we usually don't see them get off of. Once they get on asthma medication, blood pressure, diabetes, different things, cholesterol, we usually don't see them get off of it. Occasionally someone makes a radical enough life change that they turn that around, but most of the time they're on that for life, and usually as they get older, they're going to be on more of it. Okay, and what I started seeing is ordinary people, you know, not just your super athletes, super fit people, but ordinary people who were able to start making some lifestyle changes, start taking some of these supplements, and as they were restoring that nutritional bank account, all of a sudden different systems of their body were working better. And in some cases, some of the medications they were on, they're able to decrease or get off, and working with their doctor and actually have normal levels or normal measurements again. So it's very exciting as a doctor, again, to see how you could change that path of aging. And again, as people start feeling better, it gives them hope. And once they start having hope again that they could be healthy again, then they're more motivated to make other healthy changes, which is what we want. All right. Here's an example of kind of a family of products that can help raise your score. So we talked about the Life Pack, the Marine Omegas, your omega-3s that include krill oil. How many of you have been working with or heard krill oil in the last couple of years? Okay. Became really popular in the last few years. We actually kind of pioneered making that available commercially to clients because it's even better absorbed than regular fish oil and actually has some natural antioxidants included in with the oil. That's very key for our brain, heart, and many systems in the body. And then JVI is a wonderful mix of different fruits and vegetables plus some olive oil to help the fat-soluble carotenoids get absorbed better. That's also guaranteed to raise your scanner score. And again, there's lots of juices, lots of super juices out there on the market, but we've actually tested some. And again, not just testing the juice, but actually testing when people drink it over a period of weeks, what happens to their score. And in some cases, it doesn't go up at all. Okay, so you have now things that are actually documented and guaranteed. These are the only supplements in the world that actually have a performance guarantee by the company that they're guaranteed to raise a score, or the company will refund the client's money. Okay, and that's kind of the backing that you have. Now, as we go on, I want to just touch on, I talked about gene expression, and I just want to touch on this because this is kind of the wave of the future, but some of it is already here. And what it means is, going back to LifeGen Technologies, that they actually have the ability to look at whole families of genes that change their signals or their expression as we age. And what does that mean? That means that for the first time now, as we age, we can actually influence that change. And here's an example of 52 genes that actually affect our mitochondria, the energy centers in the cell. And the green is a low signal, red's a high signal. This is a young, healthy cell. And the middle is a middle-aged cell. And you guys can see it's almost completely flipped. The low signals are now high signals are now low. It's out of tune, out of balance. And that was us in middle age, okay? And until now, we just had to live with that. So that was part of, like the clients and people I mentioned, of our body breaking down, maybe getting on some medication and things not working so well, and we just attribute to that to aging because we couldn't see it, we couldn't do anything about it purposefully. But now, because we can see it, the scientists can take what nature already has to offer, but now we can fine-tune and optimize and test and measure what optimally retunes and rebalances those signals back to a more youthful and healthy pattern. And so on the right, that's what you see here, and you can see it's almost identical to the younger healthy cell. 92% of the signals were retuned back to a younger healthy pattern. So with this particular solution, people are sleeping better, they have more alertness and memory and focus during the day, they have more energy and stamina. A lot of people are feeling like they did 10 or more years ago. People are performing better on cognitive tests, okay? And it actually has been shown to make a difference in 3 levels of vitality: mental, physical, and sexual, for men and women. So how many of you know clients that would want some improvement in one of those 3 areas? Okay, at least one, okay? All right, so there you go. So this is an important breakthrough. And again, it's helping start to reset that path people are on. What's coming will then, now the work that's going on now in the future will come to be able to even further fine-tune that specifically to you. But right now, this is going to give you the first level of retuning yourself. And how many of you realize, for yourself or for your clients, being able to retune things so they could be the best version of what they could be at any time would be something valuable? Okay? We're not talking about manipulating the genes, doing anything artificial. We're not talking about any artificial stimulants or anything that's going to throw the body out of balance or just do a temporary quick fix. We're really talking about rebalancing things so a person could experience their body or their brain or their skin really being the best it could be at that stage in life. Okay? And that's what you'll be able to offer. So, with that said, and this is what I was just talking about with Vitality and R squared, now I think one other area. Some of you mentioned weight management, or you're seeing people who have interest in that. This is actually a huge, huge trend. A lot of money is being spent on this. A lot of people are looking for solutions, but what's happening? How many of you have clients that have tried to lose weight more than once in their life? Okay? I have someone in her 30s. She says she's lost 1,000 pounds in her lifetime. And I've seen her, and I'm like, whoa, how did you do that? But what she means is she's gone down and up and down and up and down and up. So she's lost that weight again and again. And what happens? Does it get harder or easier to lose weight over time? That's when it gets harder. Because what happens? Most people are losing fat and muscle. In fact, studies have shown that people can be losing up to 40% muscle, almost half of it muscle, when they lose weight. And so what happens is muscle is one of the main things that actually burns calories when we're at rest. Okay? And so we lose our ability to burn calories. So what happens? Eventually the weight creeps back up. And when people gain weight back, do they gain muscle back or just fat? Tend to gain fat, and so now they're worse off than they were before. So what we want to do is change that equation. We took our gene expression science and started looking at what are the factors that really affect people's patterns, okay, and how they burn fat and how they eat. And we also realized that to really make change, you have to address what? You have to address between the ears here. So we worked on a solution that in a very natural and balanced way, without any artificial stimulants or anything like that, helps retune the very gene expression signals that affect mood, affect appetite, and affect how your body metabolizes fat, preferentially over muscle. Okay? Even for lean people, we have something called skinny fat, where their body composition is not healthy. They still have too high percentage of body fat, and as we age, both men and women, it's harder and harder for us to preserve muscle, which becomes more and more important as we age if we want to have a long and healthy life and not end up with falls or with breaks and end up in a nursing home or something like that. Okay, so this is a key solution as well, and it actually is a program that helps set someone on a different path that continues and can continue for months and even years to come. And that's a huge breakthrough and something you'll be able to offer your clients as well. So in the interest of time, let me mention just briefly, so how this program can work is you'll be able to, if you choose to, you can get with the person who invited you to look at this. There's actually a investment that you can make to be able to get some product that makes sense for your particular client or patient makeup. You actually make a deposit on and lease the scanner, and you get the iPad with it. And what you do is you charge for each scan that you do, but it's very reasonable. In the how many pounds? People generally charge about 10 pounds for a first scan. And then people that actually choose to go on, in addition to making any healthy changes you recommend, choose to go on any of the supplements with it, they can actually get rescanned periodically for free, and they have that performance guarantee I mentioned. Now the revenue that you can make is generated both from those initial scans, plus as clients order these products, they might get it initially purchasing it through your office if you choose to, but then you can connect them to the company where they can have it drop shipped to them wherever they are on an ongoing basis. But because you introduce them, the company will continue to share that revenue with you, and they've chosen to do that because we've cut out the middleman, we've cut out all the advertising, marketing, all of that, so all the dollars can go into R&D and then be shared with those of you that are actually sharing this with your clients, so it can support you in really bringing these solutions forward. And if you choose to, here's something that's kind of interesting just to think about, because how many of you are thinking at least a little bit about retirement or about, how are you going to support yourself after, at some point if you cut back on seeing clients or patients. So what we wanted to do is have a revenue that could continue even after you stop seeing clients. So as you recommend these to people, let's say your client moves out of the area, can no longer see you. Okay, some of you might be doing telephone consultations, but let's say they move out of the area, they can still receive this in 54 markets around the world, and you still will receive compensation for that. Plus, when you retire, or even if you sell your practice, you take the revenue from the clients that are using the supplements. That's an independent source of revenue that's recurring, and you continue to take with you into retirement. And it can range anywhere on average. In the U.S., a lot of people are generating anywhere from about $30,000 to an extra six-figure income. I don't know what that'd be in pounds, maybe, but you can translate in your head. But a significant amount of income, and some choose to go on and participate in a physician or healthcare practitioner referral program where you refer others who also want to offer these cutting-edge solutions to their clients and be part of really making a difference from the ground up in people's lives. And as you do that, it's almost like having a virtual franchise network, and you can really share in that revenue with these other practitioners that partner with you, and it can grow further. So that's what I wanted to mention on that. And then lastly, these are some of the numbers, but I'm going to jump through that real quick. And then lastly, I just want to share just a little bit of the personal side. So this is my family. These are all 7 kids, and this is a couple of them here. And just the other part of that this has totally changed my family's life, because it allows me now to use my passion for really impacting people's lives and the desire to teach and educate to have a much greater reach than I ever could have just one-on-one in the doctor's office. And at the same time, I have a lot of different practitioners that are currently in practice and are implementing this and sharing this in the office, making a difference in people's lives there. And then also open the door to others, fitness professionals and even business professionals and others like Marion, who are able to share this with people on a personal basis and really help people change their lives. It's allowed me to have experiences like this with you here in London. I came here for the first time in December. And then was just in France before coming here this time, which are countries that I'd never been to before and didn't know anybody before. But because of this, it's brought in these kinds of relationships that have enriched our family's life and allowed me to actually go on to replace my physician income and build it now to a point where it's largely independent of what I do from day to day. And just on the personal side, besides being able to, that's our youngest, besides the fact that I get to, my youngest four, I've actually been able to be home with them since they've been born and be at my kids, take my daughter to her dance, practice, not only her performances, but her practices and things like that, and also take my kids to their sporting events and my boys to their basketball games. And because a lot of other parents don't have that flexibility in their schedule, often we're taking the other boys with us to their games as well. And then the last thing is just on a personal story. That's our youngest on day 3, okay? And he's holding the day portion of that R squared that I mentioned that restores the energy to your cells. And this is my wife's triathlon number. And I'll just close with this personal story because she's wanted for many years to run a triathlon, but just busy with kids and different things, hadn't done it. And then her knee started bothering her to the point where it's hard to run or pedal a bike. And with these nutrients, 2 things happen. One, with the nutrients and then learning a little bit of different exercise in the water because we want to support other healthy ways of getting healthier too. Her knee pain went away, so she was able to start running and biking again. And then with Vitality, or with the R squared day, she was able to, her stamina increased. So she wasn't getting out of breath with running and swimming pretty much no matter how long she ran or swam, and which was pretty amazing because sometimes she would do it for for a mom in her 40s for like 45 minutes, and swimming especially can get pretty tired in Lake Michigan. But she was able to do that. And she ended up doing 2 triathlons back to back, 2 weekends in a row. And then a few days later, we found out that we were expecting Archer, and 9 months later, he was born. So that's Archer. One other thing too, it made a huge difference in her sleep because for about the first 15 years after our firstborn daughter was born, she didn't sleep real well because she was up with the kids, and anytime she woke up or anytime she got hungry, it was hard to go back to sleep. And R squared made a huge difference for her. Okay, and she says she wants to hug Joe Chang whenever she sees him because she can sleep again or go back to sleep and feels refreshed, and that's made a huge change in our family because we all have a happy wife and mom now again. So it makes a difference on a personal side. So with that, I hope I at least open the door to help you see the credibility of what's here, to see the value you could offer, and to at least let you know that there's revenue that you could participate in that could support you. And right now I want to let you hear from a couple other practitioners here in the area who are implementing this just so you can get a glimpse of what's possible for you. So thank you very much. You're welcome.